Now let's look at one more definition and then some simple examples. If every element of A is also in B, that means that A is a subset of B. And we use this symbol. If you were drawing a Venn diagram, where that's your universe, the universal set, if A were a subset of B, we would draw it something like that. Every element in A is also in B. So it's a completely enclosed inside of B. Another way of saying that is just an alternative way using more mathematical symbols, which I'll define just in case you haven't seen these before. If X, an element of A, implies that X is an element of B, then A is a subset of B. If you haven't seen this logical structure, implies, it means if this is true, then that is true. So, if it is the case that a member X is in A, implies that it's also in B, then we have A being a subset of B. This is the definition of what's called a proper subset. If A is a subset of B, but A and B are not equal to each other, then A is a subset of B. Proper subset. Like that. Notice it's missing the little equal sign underneath it. So if we're talking about finite sets, a proper subset requires that A have fewer members than B does. If A is a subset of B up here, it could be that A and B are equal. They would have the same number of elements. Proper subset has at least, the left one has at least one less element than the set on the right. Let's look at an example. Let's say A is these 4 elements, and B is these 2 elements, and C is these 3 elements. Well, let's just look at our definitions and see what we can write down. We don't have to be exhaustive here. But notice that B is a subset of A. It is. Every element in B is also in A. Notice also that there are elements of A that are not in B. So we can say that B is actually a proper subset of A. B is not equal to A. Another one would be, and this is a simple one, every element is a subset of itself, because every element in A is also in A. I mean, we could be more specific here. We could say A equals A. Let's see what else we have. 1, 3. We could write B as a subset of C, but it's also a proper subset of C. It's a little bit of a stronger statement. And let's do A. That's a false statement, and now it's true. If I put the line through it, it means is not a subset of. And A is not a subset of C. And all I need is one example. One example would be the number 0. 0 is in A, and 0 is not in C. Therefore, A is not a subset of C, nor is it a proper subset of C. A is also not a subset or proper subset of B. And let's try this one. That's a false statement. C is not a proper subset of C, so I can put the line through it, and now it's true. So all of these little mathematical tidbits are true statements. One thing I want to point out is I can say, for example, here that 1 and 2 are both elements of A. And I'll write this kind of thing frequently throughout this class, where I list the elements and I'll say both of these are an element of A. It means 1 is an element of A and 2 is an element of A. Another way of saying that is equivalent to saying, this means equivalent here, to saying that the set 1, 2 is a subset of A. So notice if I'm using the subset marker, then I need to have a set on the left and a set on the right, where the is an element of simply means you list an element on the left, an element, not a set, And in this case, I listed 2 elements. And I could actually have said 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, or 0. Each one of these elements is an element of A. All right, now that I've said that, in our textbook, I don't believe the author ever uses that symbol for subset. That's the only one that I use, and many textbooks use. He uses this all of the time for subset. So even in this case, this symbol is used. So what I want you to not be concerned about is which one you use. When I write papers or maybe write homework problems, if I want to emphasize that, say, C or D is a proper subset of E, the way I do it is I say D. I'll say something like, let D, subset of E, be a proper subset. I'm not sure you can see that on the camera, so let me write it down here. So you don't need to be concerned about that. If it is required that it be a proper subset, just note, say it, write it out. This subset is proper. All that means is D has fewer elements in it than E does. All right, let's continue. Thanks.